Okay, good evening, everyone. Um, Thank you for joining us. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us. It's Wednesday evening, which means it's Real Women, Real Stories on Fertility Solutions. And tonight we are talking to Sister Keletso. Thank you for joining us, Keletso. I see you there. I'm just waiting for a few others to join us. And everyone get the notification that we are live this evening. And hi, Carla. Thanks for joining. Let's just see a few more. And yeah, so it's Wednesday evening. So every second Wednesday, we have Real Women, Real Stories, where women tell their stories of infertility and just share their journey to just give some hope to someone else that's dealing with infertility. Tonight, we're discussing this book. I never saw her eyes. I actually started reading the book. So I hope you're proud of me, Keletso. I actually started reading it. And I'm telling you, it's a good book. Thanks, guys, for joining. Hope you guys are going to enjoy tonight. Hi, Samira. Hi, Sam. Thanks for joining. And yeah, so I can't wait just waiting for a couple more guys to join. And we're going to discuss Gaining from the Pain of Loss, which is I Never Saw Her Eyes, a book by Sister Keletso Yende. And we'll hear what she has to say. I'm going to accept you now. And there we go. Okay. Keletso, there we go. Hi.
Good evening, Leanne. How are you?
I'm fine, and yourself?
I'm well, thank you. A very good evening to everyone as well who has joined us live on this session.
Okay, great. Thank you for joining us. It's nice to see you. Great. You've got a great smile. So thank you. Thank you. Yeah, so we are discussing your book. I have started reading it. It's really a great book. I wish I had more time to actually go through everything, read everything. But just even at the start, there's things that you are saying that really got me. I actually underlined it. I think it was in the first chapter already that this book got me, and I was like, wow. You said something about no pain. Let me just see where I underlined it. It said faith with yeah, surely this is not faith in action. And I was just like, wow, that is going to stick with me. Reason being is we always telling people have faith, have faith, have faith. Oh, but don't you have faith?
Mm,
And I think it's something that I've even said before. We're going through infertility, going through this journey, like, oh, but you
yeah.
must have faith. And yes, we have the faith. Um, and you just don't understand how this really, really sat with me because I'm like, so people say to you like, oh, but you must have faith. So why are you going to go and take those pills, whatever? But taking those vitamins or something that someone has given you, or actually going to see a gynae or fertility specialist, that is the action. So you need to have the faith with the action. So yeah, just that alone got me. So I'm really, really eager to hear from you. Tell us about the book. Tell us, what has been happening. Yeah, I'll let you continue.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you so much, Leanne. And I am excited that you've started reading the book. I'm sure you
Yeah.
are also finding that you can't put it down because that's the
Yes.
feedback I get from everyone. That once they
Yes,
start reading, it's very difficult to put it down. But
definitely.
yeah, I think the book was really three coming full circle moment for me, having suffered the loss of my daughter in 2018 and going through that devastation of the pain of loss and seeing how God helped to heal me. I think when we were in the season, when I wrote the book actually last year during the first wave of COVID, where everyone was just losing their loved ones, my thing was people are so hopeless and they are gripped by grief. And honestly, most of us don't know how to deal with grief until it actually faces us. So I thought, let me share my story, let me share my journey of healing, as an attempt to share hope and to inspire others who are also suffering the pain of loss, albeit it's different kind of losses. But loss is loss and it's
Yeah.
painful, and pain is pain. So even if your loss is not necessarily of a baby or a pregnancy, I think everyone could relate. So that was one of the things that inspired me to put pen to paper down. So it's really, I bring the reader into my journey,
Yeah.
into my life. Basically, it's like a memoir. I talk about
Yes.
the excitement of getting married and the prospect of now going to have a big family, as I've always dreamed of having a big family because I come from a big family. So when I got married and my husband already had 2 kids, for me the mathematics was 3 more and we'll have 5 kids,
Wow.
just like we were 5 children.
Yeah.
I come from a family of 5. 2 years later, we decide we want to get pregnant. No problems. We get pregnant like within a month or two of us deciding we were pregnant, and I had a normal pregnancy journey. All the swollen feet, everything that a typical pregnancy entails. I went through all of that
Yeah.
until I
And I
was
mean, all your
39.
scans. I remember you saying that, I mean, you went for your scans and you even went to the classes as well. Everything.
Antenatal classes, the scans, I did everything a diligent mother to be would do. I started taking my vitamins before I fell pregnant, as you are told,
Yes.
enough water, eating healthy, I was checking all the doctor's visits. In fact, the last doctor's visit was on a Thursday when I was 39 weeks pregnant. And when we left, we had a scan and everything was normal. And when we left, I still giggled with the doctor who said, probably I might not see you again for your scheduled visit next week because I might meet you at the maternity ward any day from now. And we giggled and I left. That was Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. No signs of distress. I was okay. I was just as per usual. The only thing on that Sunday that was not usual is that it was it came until like 11 or 12 in the morning, and I had not felt Boo Boo move. And that was very unusual for her. I knew in the morning when I'm at church, she always moved. So after church, my husband and I just went past the hospital, just 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 to be sure because I hadn't felt her move. But we were not really concerned. We were not alarmed because Thursday
Yeah.
everything was fine. But unfortunately for us, that was the day when we got the fatal words that no parent ever wants to hear. I'm sorry, there is no heartbeat. And that's really the story I opened the book with, of going into a hospital as a hopeful mother and coming out empty handed without a baby, and going back to a house where you were planning a welcome home
Mm.
celebration, and things just switched, and all of a sudden you had to plan a farewell celebration, not a celebration, a farewell.
Yeah.
I call it a celebration, which is quite weird, but as painful as it was, I look back and I call it a celebration because I still choose to celebrate the life of my daughter. The 39 weeks that I spent with her has just had so much impact on me that I
Yeah.
cannot help but to celebrate her life. And so that's why I talk about death and celebration in one sentence. Don't mind me. That's just
Okay.
a result of my
Yeah.
journey. Yeah, so
Yeah. There's,
that's the loss. And you would think, okay, after that things will be okay. But I've also had reoccurring miscarriages. So that's where
mm,
now I'm talking about loss of a baby, loss of pregnancies, and it just becomes this complicated journey with
Yeah.
fertility. And that's what I write in the book, and I write about how I got my healing, which we'll still talk about as we go on this evening. But basically, that is the loss that I talk about in my book.
Yeah, when I read part of it, you also spoke about that connection that you had. Like you would speak to her and tell her, things that's happening or how you're feeling, or all these things you explain to her and talk about your husband as well and things. So that connection was, and I think that's what makes it even more difficult because that connection was already there in the womb,
Yeah,
and she was a fully formed baby, and it was just for her to just make the arrival. And to transition your mind and your heart at the same time, from I'm bringing a baby home to you know that I think is the most difficult. And how do you heal from something like this? In the fertility, let me say, I don't know, say realm, or yeah, I don't know what to use. It's
yeah,
that is something that happens it happens to so many of us. We deal with it, but there's almost never a way, or the right thing to say when it comes to what do you tell somebody who's just had a miscarriage. I mean, I think of, I had the worst words from somebody ever when I had a miscarriage, and by with my last one, and I was told, oh, maybe you should be nicer to kids. And I was like, how can you even say that? And it stuck with me. It's been years later, about 5 years later,
yeah,
and it stuck with me because they didn't understand the journey that I was going. For me to
mm,
hold kids at the time was hard because I yearned for my own. So to
yeah,
be extra nice and holding and hugging someone's child and then have to give that baby back to someone else, that was hard.
mm,
And there I finally had, this happy, I'm pregnant, I'm going to have a baby. And then a few months down the line, unfortunately, it didn't work out, or, and I had the miscarriage. What do you tell someone that is going through something like this, who's just gone through a miscarriage?
yeah. I think part of the reason I also decided to write the book, I mean, when you relay your story of someone just saying something that totally devastates you, it was from that realization that, you know, because we hardly ever talk about fertility challenges and what it actually means to lose a pregnancy, whether it's 2 weeks, 5 weeks, 5 months, 9 months, stillborn, or whatever. Um, I don't think that people fully appreciate and understand that it's a loss of a life.
Yes.
And it doesn't matter even if you lose a 5 week pregnancy, that
Mm,
when it's 9 months, you remembering they would have been born now. And every
mm,
year you have to mourn, they would have been one now, they would have been five. So it's
yes.
it's a serious mourning because as soon as you hear you are pregnant, you're already dreaming and you're having expectations and you're having plans.
That's
So when you
that's good.
lose a
Good point that you
pregnancy,
make.
yeah, you have to you're now mourning a complete life because you've already imagined what it would be. I use my husband as an example. He had already designed swim costumes and skateboards. He was going to skate with his daughter. They were gonna go diving and all sorts of things, and he had already designed their outfits and everything. So it's the death of a dream. So it's as devastating as having to mourn somebody you've lived your life with. You mourning the memories, you mourning what could have been. But when you lose a pregnancy, you 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 mourn your imagined memories,
Yes,
if I can call
yes.
it that, because you don't even have the memories. So you even mourn for not having the memories. So so we don't talk enough about this, and that's why people will say things like the example that you are making, and there'll be other people who don't mean harm. They'll just say, oh, at least it wasn't too far along, or you'll
Mm.
have more kids, without understanding that even if you have more kids, it's not a replacement for the one that you lost. So
Mm.
that's part of the reasons I wrote the book. And in the book, there's one of my favorite chapters is where I actually talk to people who are supporting couples who've either lost babies, who have lost pregnancies, or just in general who are having fertility struggles, in terms of what are the things that you need to be mindful of when you are offering support to these people. And just to show them from a mourner's perspective, that we hear and we see through the eyes of grief. So some things, even if you don't mean to them for harm, but because we filter them through grief, they can really be devastating. So I think it was an issue of, okay, we can cry about people not saying the right things, not doing about the right things, but sometimes, honestly, they just don't know. And that's why we have these conversations, and that's why we write books about it. So you asked me a direct question and you said, what do you say to a person that just had a miscarriage? And to be quite honest with you, the simple answer is probably nothing at first.
Mm. Wow.
Because what I find is, when somebody is going through something, because you want to get them out of that thing, that you put pressure on yourself to say something. What I found to be therapeutic and supportive and healing is just presence, just
Yeah.
letting the
Yeah.
person know that you are there for them. You don't even
Yeah.
have to say anything. I
Yeah.
found the
And that's
ministry of
powerful.
presence to be such a powerful tool. Acknowledge their loss. I am sorry about your loss. Don't even
Mm.
say I understand what you're going through, because you don't. Even if you've had your own miscarriage, even if you are having fertility challenges, we are all different. So don't tell a person that you understand what they're going through. You don't. You can relate, probably, yes. So what I would probably say to them is, I acknowledge your loss. I am sorry about your loss, and let
Mm.
them know that you are there for them.
Yeah.
That you don't even need to say more than that. You don't
Yeah.
already need to get into that mode of wanting to make them feel better. At least you are still young. You can continue trying, or at least you got pregnant, so you are fertile. When you put pressure on yourself to try to make them feel better, that's when
Mm.
you are more likely to end up saying the wrong things. So just let them know that you are there for them, that you
Wow.
are hurt, that they are hurting. And if you can relate, you can relate, but you don't actually know the pain that they are going through. But just
Yeah.
let them know that you are hurting because they are hurting, and not
Wow.
because you understand their pain.
Yeah. That is actually that's great advice. But we should actually just do one little talk, just you giving advice to people. Because a lot of times we don't know what to say to people when it comes to somebody having a miscarriage and you're trying to be supportive. And in a lot of times when you don't know or you haven't dealt with it, I'm talking about people that has never gone through to something, they don't know what to say. So them thinking they are helping you are actually hurting you more. When
Yeah.
you're just trying to be supportive to somebody, it actually by saying a whole lot, you're actually just hurting them actually more. So
At
we are
at
talking
the
this evening.
same Yeah.
Yeah,
At the
I was
same
just going to
time,
say we are talking to Keletso.
yes.
For those who's just joined, it's about a book that she's written. I never saw her eyes, and she's telling us of her loss of her baby at 38 weeks or 39 weeks.
39 weeks, yeah.
39 weeks, yes. So if you've just joined, thanks for joining. Yeah, you can continue, Keletso.
So at the same time, I like balancing this, when we're talking about the mourners and the supporters, because sometimes I feel as mourners also, we are not fair on the supporters.
Yeah.
Because if we were to be honest with ourselves, before we went through what we went through, we also at some stage didn't know how to support someone that was
Yeah.
going through these kind of challenges. So I also encourage the mourners, to have grace. Have grace for the mourners and be naive and assume that whatever they say and whatever they do is coming from a good space.
Yes.
I always, say try not to assume the worst, because I mean I've never seen a master class for come, we're going to train you so that you learn how to support a person that's going through grief, you know and even if there was, because we are different, somebody might say something to me and I might find that it is very comforting, and they say the same thing to you and you might find that it's the worst thing ever to say. So can you see how complicated and complex
Yeah.
it becomes to support mourners then? So I always say, let's also have grace and understand that, we don't always know how to support each other. And sometimes, which I also experienced, is my trauma triggered my supporters' trauma. So some people have trauma that they've never dealt with. And when something happens to you, your trauma becomes just too much for them. And this is where I even forgive people who don't show up,
Mm.
because there are some people you will expect that they will be there for you and they will support you and they will be present in some form or shape, and they're simply not there. But choose to forgive them, because your trauma might just be too much for them to handle. But I'm saying to them, take off the pressure of needing to say something. So instead of staying away because you don't know what to say, because you are so overwhelmed with this person's trauma, just let them know that you are there and don't feel the pressure to say something. But when they say something wrong, forgive them as well, because hey, this is a difficult thing and it's a journey. And yeah.
Yeah. Tell me, I just got one question for you. Do, was this a form of healing for you, writing this book itself? Did you feel as you were going through it, you were healing by writing it?
Well, yes, it was definitely a form of healing in a way. But I must say, I wouldn't have been able to write it if I hadn't reached a certain level of
Yeah.
healing. Because, when you write it, you have to go back to those difficult moments where you saw the coffin. I write in the book that one of the most difficult moments is when my husband took the coffin and he went in the hole and he placed the coffin, and he had to come out of the hole, and then they started piling the hole with soil. Like, that was for me one of the most difficult moments. So when you're writing, you have to go back to all of these moments, and you still go through the emotions and the feelings. And like I'm saying, yes, it was healing. It was more confirmation for me that
Yeah.
I am healed, because I don't believe I would have been able to write if I wasn't somewhat healed. But it still added to that healing and just brought it full circle. Because some of the times I was writing about the things and I was looking at myself, I'm like, oh, I'm not falling apart. Wow, this is amazing, And of course, there was those difficult days where I'm like, I had to remind myself, why am I doing this again? So yeah, it was healing, but I couldn't have written if I hadn't attained a certain level of healing before starting to write, because I mean the whole book is about the journey of healing. And I chose to write at the time that I chose to write besides COVID. I mean it in a time, as in why I chose to write the book before I have more kids, is because I always feel like when you read somebody's story and they say, I used to have challenges And now, woo, look, I've got twins, or now, woo, look, I've got a baby, or I've got triplets. And you are still in that journey. It's like you don't understand what I'm going through because you are sorted now. So I wanted
Mm.
to write now while I'm still in that fertility
Yes.
challenge journey as an encouragement to someone who's in that journey right now to say you need to realize that there is more to you than just having babies, and that
Mm.
you can still have a fulfilled life even if your prayer is not yet answered and you don't have that testimony of saying, I used to struggle and now I have a baby. So I
Mm.
really wanted to take people with on my personal journey so that even when the day comes where I say, yay, well, here is my little one or my triplet. God knows I want triplets, oh my word. When I come and say that, but because I started talking while I was in the journey, people will still be able, or at least I hope, to relate with the
To
story
relate.
and to say,
Mm.
okay, wow, it doesn't have life doesn't have to be miserable until that one day when, but I can actually start enjoying my life now, even while I wait with expectation.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. Thank you so very much for sharing this with us. This book is available on my website, and also you can go over to Sister K. You can find she's on Instagram, and you can actually buy it directly from you, or you can buy it on our fertilityproducts.co.za website as well. It's I never saw her eyes, gaining from the pain of loss. So thank you very much for joining. I'm hoping to do another one with you, and we can talk over on the Facebook page. So yeah, thank you very much. It's a really good read. And once, I really don't want to part with this book, but I think I will do a giveaway with this book. Once I'm done reading it, once I've completed it, I will definitely give it to the next person. And because I think it's really such I just feel that everyone going through infertility or has gone through a loss needs to read this.
Mm.
And it might just answer the questions that you've been asking yourself and you haven't been able to get answers from. There might just be something that in here that you can relate to. And it
Yeah.
can help you along your journey. So thank you very much for taking your time out to do this talk with us.
No, thank you so much, Leanne. And just maybe my parting comment is something just related to the subtitle of the book, which is Gaining from the Pain of Loss. And it's just presenting pain in a new perspective to say
Yeah,
that not all is lost if you are going through pain, that there's
yeah,
actually something that you can gain through going through a process of pain of a loss. So if anybody wants to know and understand how and what I mean, when I started, I was talking about a funeral and a celebration, and I'm talking about pain and I'm talking about gaining. What is this woman about? I've just spilled everything and shared everything and the journey that got me to this
yeah.
perspective about pain in the book. So yeah, not all is lost. Do not lose faith. Do not lose hope. Decide to enjoy your life even now while you are going through the challenge, and don't postpone your happiness for any reason.
That's so beautiful. Thank you very much for sharing that. So, yeah, again, if for those join, I never saw her eyes. If you want to purchase it, you can get it on our website, or you can actually contact Sister K directly to get it. Thank you again for sharing this with us. Have a great
Thank you so
evening.
much. Thank you so much, and
Pleasure.
thank you for everyone that joined us this evening.
It's a pleasure. Thank you. Bye.